Hello, everyone. Welcome to the U.S. Immigration Update News. Over the past few days, a wave of fear and confusion has spread across immigrant communities worldwide. Families have been calling each other late at night. WhatsApp groups are buzzing nonstop, and social media is filled with alarming headlines claiming that the United States is preparing to stop issuing immigrant visas for as many as 75 countries. For people who have been waiting years for a green card, this kind of news hits like a punch to the chest. It brings back memories of sudden bans, frozen processing timelines, and families left in limbo with no clear answers. In this video, we are going to carefully unpack what is actually being reported, what is confirmed versus what is still under review, how immigrant visa processing could be affected for certain countries, and most importantly, what this means for your family, your green card case, and your next steps without panic, without exaggeration, and without misleading claims. If you are liking this video, please hit the bell button, subscribe, and like it so that you may get updates straight to your smartphone. Now, let's get into the video. First, it is extremely important to slow down and separate facts from fear. As of now, there is no single official public order stating that the United States has permanently stopped issuing immigrant visas to 75 countries across the board. What is happening instead is far more complex, and it revolves around heightened screening, policy reviews and temporary pauses, or slowdowns tied to security documentation and public charge evaluations at U.S. consulates abroad. According to multiple reports and government briefings, the U.S. government is reviewing immigrant visa issuance procedures for a large group of countries that are considered higher risk due to document verification challenges, overstay patterns, security concerns, or economic instability. During these reviews, immigrant visa issuance at some consulates may slow down significantly, and in certain cases, visas may not be issued immediately even after interviews are completed. This is not the same thing as a permanent ban. But for families waiting overseas, the effect can feel almost identical. Immigrant visas are primarily issued through U.S. embassies and consulates under the authority of the Department of State, while petition approvals are handled by USCIS. That distinction matters. Even if USCIS continues approving I-130 and I-40 petitions inside the United States, consulates abroad still control whether an immigrant visa is physically issued. That is where these new concerns are emerging. In recent weeks, consular officers in multiple regions have reportedly received updated internal guidance instructing them to apply stricter scrutiny to immigrant visa cases originating from dozens of countries. These reviews focus heavily on financial sponsorship strength, document authenticity, prior immigration history, and long-term self-sufficiency. As a result, some immigrant visa cases are being placed into administrative processing, delayed without a clear timeline, or held pending further review. For families, this feels like the system has suddenly slammed the brakes. The countries affected are not officially published in a single public list, but reports suggest they span parts of Africa, Asia, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and Latin America. Many of these are countries that already face longer processing timelines due to heavy demand or limited consular staffing. The idea that immigrant visa issuance could be paused or slowed for such a large group has understandably caused panic. Let's be very clear here. Immigrant visas include family-based green cards, employment-based green cards, and diversity visas. If consulates slow or pause issuance in certain countries, it does not cancel approved petitions. It does not revoke visas already issued, and it does not automatically deport anyone currently inside the United States, but it can delay family reunification in very painful ways. For example, a spouse of a U.S. citizen with an approved I-130 may attend an interview, pass medical exams, and submit all documents only to be told the case is under additional review. That review can last weeks or months. Parents waiting to join their adult children may suddenly see their timelines pushed further into the future with no explanation beyond administrative processing. This is where the NVC becomes part of the story. The National Visa Center continues to collect documents and schedule interviews, but it does not control final visa issuance. Families often assume that once NVC marks a case documentarily qualified, the end is near. In reality, the consulate still has broad discretion. Another critical point many people misunderstand is that these developments mainly affect immigrant visas issued abroad. If you are already in the United States and eligible for adjustment of status, your case is generally handled entirely by USCIS. That means these consular slowdowns do not automatically apply to you. However, increased scrutiny and policy tightening can still influence how officers evaluate your case. Now, let's talk about why this is happening. Immigration policy in 2026 is being shaped by a strong focus on enforcement, self sufficiency, and risk management. Public charge assessments, financial sponsorship reviews, and fraud detection are once again front and center. These themes echo enforcement priorities that were prominent during the Trump administration and continue to influence internal policy discussions today. This does not mean every immigrant is suddenly unwelcome, but it does mean the government is being far more cautious about who receives permanent residence through consular processing. For families, the emotional toll is enormous. People sell property, leave jobs, pull children out of schools, and say goodbye to loved ones based on expected visa timelines. When those timelines suddenly collapse, the damage is not just bureaucratic, it is personal. So, what should you do right now? The first and most important thing is do not panic and do not make irreversible decisions based on rumors. Do not quit jobs, sell homes, or relocate children until you have a visa physically issued in your passport. Too many families have been hurt by acting too early. Second, make sure your documentation is flawless. Financial sponsorship is under intense scrutiny. Affidavit of support must be accurate, consistent, and supported by strong evidence. Any discrepancy can trigger delays. Third, understand that administrative processing is not a denial. It is frustrating, slow, and opaque, but many cases do eventually clear. Repeated inquiries or aggressive actions can sometimes slow things down further rather than speed them up. Fourth, if you hold dual citizenship, your nationality at the time of visa issuance matters. Some individuals may be able to proceed using a passport from a country not subject to heightened review. This is highly case specific and requires careful guidance. It is also crucial to understand what this situation is not. It is not a universal immigration shutdown. It is not an end to family based green cards. It is not an automatic rejection of cases from specific countries. It is a period of tightening review and uncertainty that disproportionately affects applicants processing through certain consulates. History shows us that these kinds of slowdowns often come in waves. Sometimes they ease quietly, sometimes they evolve into formal policy, sometimes courts intervene, and sometimes they fade as priorities shift. What families can control is preparation, patience, and staying informed. For those who have been waiting years, hearing that immigrant visa issuance could slow for dozens of countries feels devastating. But it is not the end of the road. Cases are still being approved, visas are still being issued, families are still being reunited, just not always on the timelines they were promised. The most important thing right now is clarity. Do not let fear driven headlines rob you of sleep or push you into bad decisions. Immigration systems are slow, political, and imperfect, but they are also constantly changing. We will continue to monitor official announcements, consular guidance, and confirm policy updates so you don't have to rely on rumors or speculation. That's all we have for this bulletin. The U.S. Immigration Update News Channel provides all necessary visa information and procedures for your U.S. immigration journey. It is important to understand that United States immigration processing steps, visa application requirements, processing times, forms, fees, and more. We will continue to provide all information about U.S. visitor visas, such as B1 and B2, work visas such as L1A, L1B, and H1B, student visas, green cards, immigrant visas, EB1, EB2, EB3, EB4, and EB5, and family immigrant visas. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the U.S. Immigration Update News channel. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next